Easy ye, how are we?
Shawnee, are you ready?
Uh-oh. I should be sitting
Are
down
you
for this,
sitting
right?
down? No, you're standing
This
up. What are you standing
the
up for?
one time I'm standing up in a standing desk. I'm shaking the legs. I got to run in today. I retired the paddle board because I got too much abuse about it. So I am back in. I don't know. It's called a power board, but I'm standing up. The legs are shaking. 20k in. We're on the home stretch. Well, we're starting off the home. We're starting not home stretch at all. What's the opposite of a home stretch? The beginning stretch. We are running.
Yeah.
I need to
All
stretch.
right.
That's my point. I'm ready. What were you going to say?
I don't know. I kind of got lost in all the bullshit that came out of your mouth there for the last few minutes. Sean. Anyway, seems how you're
Yes.
standing there at the start road, or the end road, and the side road, the roundabout. By the sounds of it, it's 19 weeks till the Barcelona Marathon. So for those who have signed up, this is your initial warning shot.
I felt that shot. I feel like going back to bed. Forget starting lines or finishing lines or roundabouts or side roads. Really? 19 weeks to the Miller March
19
already?
weeks. Yeah,
The Paddy's
because
weekend.
I had to start training. So I was putting it in. I put it into the old Garmin. I did a little comparison, Sean, and we talk about this in the episode. And it was when we recorded this, I was like, do you know what? I need to actually put this to the test because a lot of people are talking about it. I downloaded Runner, and obviously I have Garmin with my new watch. So I'm pitting the two of them against each other. You only get, is it a week or 5 days free trial with Runner? So anyway, I set up the plan in both. I stuck to the Garmin Run Coach app and I matched what it was doing in the Runner app. And I have to say, I don't get the craze. I don't get, if people have Garmins, I don't understand why they're paying 20 euros a month for. I know it works out when you buy the yearly plan, 180 quid or something for the year, but if you're wearing a Garmin, I really don't understand why paying for the extra. In fact, the Garmin with the latest has given me gym workouts, Sean.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
you'll have to send them on to me now so I can critique
it's
offline.
circuit workout, 25 minutes, and it's on certain training days. I have to say, I was a little bit impressed. Now I think Runner does the same, but it hasn't done it for me yet in the week. But I just having compared them for the week, I was like, why would I pay? I'd rather pay 20 euros a month for Swift, or I already have fantastic
Okay.
technology.
Are you saying that Runner is not that much better to deserve a 20 quid? Or are you saying they're both the same? Why would I pay 20 quid towards that and put it towards Swift instead?
Yeah, both, I think. I don't think it's much better to deserve the money because it's doing the same thing, just
Right.
with a different logo. And yeah, I'd rather use that money for something else in terms of cross training. I'd rather put 20 quid a month towards a swimming pool membership, or do you know what I mean? As in, I'm getting everything with the watch and the technology and my sleep and with the coach, because at the end of the day, it's just an AI system that's in the background, based on your times and your predicted times and your effort levels and your recovery rate and your HRV and everything that the watch does while you just wear it. So I'm like, why would I part ways with more money? And that was just for me. And I know so many people are falling in love with it and their marketing is going amazing. But I already bought the membership when I bought the watch. And that's my logic. I was like, the reason I spent so much on the watch was because I have access to running plans and coaches and sleep coaches and everything else in between that I haven't even accessed. And now it's telling me to go do push-ups. So
silly question now. Does the Garmin? Because I remember at one stage Garmin only did up to half marathons for the coach on one stage, and it does full now. Is that right?
Yeah, so in the I call it the dynamic coach, as in it changes based on your week and your load and everything else. But Garmin has always given marathon plans. So when you go onto the website, you can download a marathon plan onto your watch, be it off heart rate or pace. So even back as far as 2019, that's what I was using to give me some guidance. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and a lot of people have said they've come off their PBs, and you'll hear us talk about it a little bit in this. But I'm actually going to use it for because I'm training on my own, and don't get me wrong, I think being a part of a club, and if you are going for a certain level of PB and you've kind of taken or plateaued, I think having a coach is, and I've worked with Emmett. We're going to have another fantastic coach on this as well. It makes a difference when someone else is doing the thinking and analysing, but for me, I don't want to waste someone's time when I'm just running 1K loops here, and half of it's on sand, half of it's on, like it's just, so for me, it's just effort based, heart rate based. And I'm going to stick with it for Barcelona Marathon and then really see how did it go over a marathon distance.
I suppose it's hard when you don't have an exact structure. And I think I may have touched this in this episode as well, because sometimes I work like every evening during the week and sometimes I have 1 or 2 evenings off and I'm like, oh, I would love to join a run club and stuff like that. But I do be afraid that I can't fully commit to the run club and then I'm doing my own thing and stuff like that. Though that does get put back on me on this episode, which I'm really excited about. But you touched on marathons, Eric. We've got Barcelona coming up and stuff like that. And now I have to say 19 weeks. I've only got 15 weeks to train for Dundee 50k and I feel like I'm at the very start. But there's other marathons going on as well.
Yeah, and not only that, Jer has given us loads of abuse in the inbox here. I can't read out some of it for fear of being arrested, but thanks, Jer. He's actually on his way to run a marathon in Antarctica.
So he flies out on
He just did a 3-hour marathon, yeah. Body probably hasn't even recovered fully, but he is on his way. It's actually the closest me and Jer are going to be and have been for the last 2 years. I think he flies over me at some point. I'm closer to him now than I am to all yous. But he's doing a fundraiser, obviously, and he's doing the marathon in Antarctica. I think he's doing I'll have to double check. I think he's doing 2 marathons, one in South Africa and one in Antarctica. And he's hoping that some people might support because, as everyone knows, Jer went through a traumatic incident and he is raising funds and putting a final push to raise funds for the Beaumont ICU family room, which was very vital for his family as he went through his elements following the skiing accident. So if anyone wants more information or wants to support the cause and what Jer is doing, you're invited to reach out to him directly on Work It Out on his Instagram, and he can pass on all the details of how you can support so that other families who may go through certain elements in their toughest days, I suppose the niceties of having a nice room for them to think in, because that's where a lot of thinking would happen when they're in those moments. So very best of luck to Jer, and I believe Anto is travelling with him, speaking of the 50k, so very best of luck to them. He did say well done to you, Sean, and making your way around. He didn't say running the Dublin Marathon, he said making your way around, and he also said I inspire people somehow. He doesn't know how, but so that's it. Thanks, Jer. So it was so a big shout out to Jer, and it is good, and people are wondering what to do now. We're talking about marathons, which can scare people, because some people are probably hearing me saying 19 weeks to Barcelona, someone else is out running the marathon the next week and they're still sitting on the couch saying fuck off, I'm not going out there. That's okay too. It's difficult. It's very, very difficult to pick yourself up after a marathon, and that's what this one is all about, and we recognise the importance of that. So we've got a great guest this week to talk us through how to deal with this post-marathon feeling.
Absolutely. As you've mentioned a couple of times leading up, the post-marathon blues, what to do afterwards and whether to build towards other races or how to get your body back before running again. With that said, we're going to stop talking and let the expert talk in this one. It's this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. Let's go.
What were you showing man about at the start?
Our next guest on the Any Given Run Day podcast is one of the most sought-after running coaches in the country. Our previous 2-time guest this podcast, both episodes were in the top 5 most downloaded of 2023, and now he's back for round 3. Kevin English, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast. How are you getting on?
How are you, lads? All good?
What do you think of the place? We've done a bit of upgrading. New studios, T-shirts.
I know, you actually sent me a T-shirt. I should be wearing it, shouldn't I?
Didn't want to mention it, but you know.
Yeah, looking slick, lads, I have to say now. Yeah, the mics look really in check there.
If only we knew how to use them, Kev. And now that we have all this video, it's really not helping our faces for the radio kind of hashtag. But it has been a very busy year, even for us, as we see so many people getting involved in Dublin Marathon. We have always ended up discussing Dublin Marathon one way or another in the build-up over a couple of years and giving top tips and tricks. I have no doubt it was a very busy season for you as well with a lot of us, and even one of our Fantastic Four was training with you. It's been absolutely fantastic to see the progress a lot of your guys and girls are making. I suppose this week we're kind of hoping to touch on a few things on what do we do now? What do we do when we can't go into the office with our medal, and when people stop talking to us about marathons and how great we are? And the other half start saying, well, you said after the marathon you were going to hang that shelf. So what happens now? What do we do? And how, well, first of all, and it is a genuine thing, how do you deal with the come down of a marathon?
Know a runner who's always chasing the next finish line? Or maybe you are that runner.
Meet the Ultra Pure Sports Recovery Kit. Everything you need for faster, better recovery after those long runs.
Inside, you'll find the Ultra Pure Epsom salts gel, arnica cream, wintergreen heat rub, soothing bath salts, and a free gift, all designed with your recovery in mind.
Perfect post-race, post-training, or after a long weekend run. This set is the ultimate treat for hard-working muscles.
Beautifully packaged and ready to gift for your running buddy or you.
Made in County Mayo by an award-winning Irish family business, Ultra Pure means quality you can feel and trust.
Find the Ultra Pure Sports Recovery Kit in select pharmacies and health stores nationwide, or shop now at ultrapurelabs.ie.
By listening to this advert, you are supporting Irish businesses and this podcast. But for now, it's time to get back to the episode.
Yeah, like it's hard to explain because you spent so many weeks and months just churning out. The long run keeps getting longer every week. You know, you're managing the niggles, you're managing all the things that come with it. You're trying to maybe move your long runs to a midweek because you have a wedding coming up, or, you know, a missed long run. I've had a good few people lately who would have been doing their long runs on a Monday instead of a Sunday because they just couldn't fit it in. And then you're trying to manage that week because you've got 2 long runs really in 7 days. So yeah, it's building. And then suddenly you do the marathon. And for me, I've had mixed feelings at the end of a marathon. I've had some marathons where euphoria. I remember doing Clonakilty Marathon. I had no expectations, went in, had one of the best races I've ever had, finished and just start bawling, crying. And I'm like going, what's wrong with me? But it was just a release. And then I remember running my PB in Brighton Marathon. I went over on my own. I finished and it was just a sense of relief. It was so weird because I was on my own. I had a time to tick, but did I enjoy the marathon? No, I didn't enjoy the marathon. Did I enjoy the training? Yes. So you'll get some people who enjoy the training block and they love the race. And then you got other people who struggle maybe to manage the training and they love the race. And then you get some people who peck all training and do the race. And then and then I've had a couple of people lately who I would say they're scared of racing. You know, they find it very difficult because they feel like there's 100 million eyes looking at them when essentially there's very few people looking in at it, you know. So that's where the likes of these things like Strava and social media, while they're good, the other part of it is like people feel like there's more people looking in than really in reality there's not really. So yeah, it's just like the week in it now. Obviously we're recording this on the Friday, it's 2 days before Dublin. So most people are like shitting a brick at the moment. Some people have collected their numbers, other people are like going in tomorrow, and it's just, yeah, all hell breaks loose down on Sunday.
At this stage, Kevin, a lot of people think, well, if they did it right, not like me and Eric most years, but they are at their most fittest now. And after Dublin, it's like, right, I got to sign up for the next marathon. What's the next one? What's the next one? Building that. And then others want to bring it back down towards building that base for the 10K. But they don't, at the same time, they don't want to lose getting that long run each week. But then, like you said, the niggles and stuff start coming in from the long runs. When you're talking to your runners, what do you advise, or is it based on where they're at?
Yeah, I think a lot of it will come into the level that the person's running at, or maybe like, I'm not even talking about time, but maybe like I'd have some people are aiming for sub 3 and they're running like 130K a week. We know who that is. And then I'd have I'd have some people then that are maybe like managing 60 or 70K. So it depends as well how broken up you are after. So I've had a few people that ran Galway was it last week, and Chicago the week before. And I think all of them that ran bar one in Galway are all doing Dublin. So there's a
Oh wow.
very quick turnaround. But what you find with some people, because they've ticked 100K a week, their body has become accustomed and used to that kind of breakdown of the tissue. So they recover much quicker after a marathon effort. I would always kind of advise 10 days off, no running after a marathon. At least that's the minimum for most people. But there's an addictive nature in a lot of runners. They just can't like, I want to get back running. What will I do? So maybe swim, gym, bike, walk, do something else. And it's good mentally just to switch off, because you've just been in that bubble of that block of training the whole time. It's quite repetitive.
We've had a lot of different conversations and people come to the podcast recently, and the Runner app has come up a good bit. And I've been trying to find a way of explaining the difference between something like following a plan, the Runner app, and people want their program stuff and it works great. And that kind of human connection. And then I saw one of your posts. You had, I should have wrote down her name here, did the Galway Marathon. And he's basically in the post, you're like, we just decided the last minute, right, we're actually going to go for this. I think the post kind of led into she was doing Dublin, you weren't too sure. I was like, no, we're going to go for, and when you've talked about before, Wayne Waldrum over in Galway. One, what's your thoughts on the Runner app and stuff like that? And two, or if you just want to answer, two, just what kind of pressure is that to like go to talk to a client who's aimed for one race? You're like, no, and this worked, by the way. You're going to go, okay, this is the race we're actually going to aim for now, and having that relationship with your runners.
Yeah, like, so obviously, like, for me, I'm coaching online, and with Runner, like, it's really good. I find it's really good for me as well. So I've had like tons of people that have been introduced, I suppose, to online coaching via Runner, because their marketing is so strong. And obviously, you know that Strava bought Runner, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So like, now what's happened is, like, so when you sign up for the big city marathons, or even Antrim that I'm involved in, Runner is now partnering as the coach, or the coaching plans, because it makes sense. So from it's a win-win for all of these, because it's like someone signs up at Runner, they get a small, of piece of the pie, and then all these influencers then who are promoting it, they get a bit of piece of the pie. So they're all lining their back pockets, but then Runner is very generic. So it's I would find my own personal experience with Runner is, when people come to me, they're really good on the anaerobic side of things. So Runner with the sessions seem to be really on point. So they're really strong at 5, 10K, but then as they go up in distance, their performances start to decline. I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm more of a volume type coach, or, there's more mileage with my plans, or maybe more like slower type sessions that I allow people to kind of build their confidence and build into it, rather than these like wham bam sessions that make you feel good, but do they actually improve your fitness long term? I don't know. So yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It means people are following a bit of a structure. But then going back to what you're saying, the personal touch. So like, if you take Galway, I had 3 girls running it. I had said to them before, I said, there's an opportunity to place really high in a marathon, which is something that for most of these women, they all have families, they work full-time jobs. They would never in their wildest dreams maybe thought a year ago or 2 years ago that I'm going to place in the top 5 of a marathon and run a PB. So like, you kind of, lucky enough, Galway was cancelled and they moved it, and the conditions were fantastic then on the day. And Anne-Marie, who won the race that I coach, she's from Galway as well. So I remember the call we had, like, I think 5 days beforehand, we only decided we were definitely doing that marathon, because I said, listen, you have an opportunity to hopefully win it, and you'll do it in front of your family. It's your hometown. That opportunity might pass you by. You could go to Dublin and maybe run 3 or 4 minutes quicker. Is it everything? Is time everything? I kind of been kind of questioning lately, So yeah, but look, it is. It's definitely, there's definitely more, and as I'm going to say that, because obviously, but I do genuinely believe that, like, I can have these conversations that maybe you can't have on an app, or you can't change things around because you missed a long run. Do I do another long run next week? Or you missed the session. Do I need to do another session? So yeah, even a girl I had running the cross country race there rang me like 15 minutes beforehand. I'm after tweaking my knee here. Do you think I should race? And then we were able to make a decision. Whereas if you're on an app, you can't like ring Runner and say, well, I did race.
How am I fixed? What do you think? It, it is, as you said, look, it's great. I remember when myself and Sean started in the Phoenix Park, going back as, geez, I don't know, many years ago now, and we had the Nike Run app, and we were hitting start on the phone and just taking a run. No idea what pace was. We just knew time and you're this many kilometers. We didn't know what that really meant, but it got us used, as you've correctly said, it got us used to what is a pace, what is a certain kilometer, and then
Yeah.
eventually when you do find someone like yourself, it's like, actually, I'm familiar with the term. No idea what zone 2 means, but I'm familiar with the term, and my watch says I'm not doing it right. You do get that familiarity, and then I suppose the beauty of having something tailored or working with someone is it kind of opens the door to understanding how your body works around that. And because although you said they're partnering with marathons, and it's fantastic that people can get a plan, and it's not any new science. Even Dublin used to give out a standard plan that people could follow along to for this race series, and it was a certain amount of runs a week, and it's not reinventing the wheel, I suppose, but it's the personal touch and the experience that you just won't be able to compete with.
Yeah, like I've often said this. I say to people, if you get a plan, whatever, you get it online or you get it from a coach, if you can't understand the plan, it's probably not the plan for you. So there's so many ways of explaining things, and everyone's trying to complicate it online to make themselves look better. So I'd always explain things in layman's terms so people can like understand what is PMP. It's predicted marathon pace. This is the pace we've always said we were going to try and aim for. Are we going to stick to that? So, like your last session before the marathon might be 8K at your marathon pace, 10 days out or something. And if you can't hit 8K, you ain't doing the full distance, that's for sure. But like, it's just like, it's quite simple. I always say like running is very, very simple sport. It should be kept simple. Like, there's different levels, and obviously, you'll have people that go down the route of, getting their bloods done and, what is their LT1, LT2, all these threshold terms. But essentially it's running for an hour that you could run steady for an hour and you can't run any longer, But yeah, I think I've kind of gone off track here a little bit, but what else were we saying about running?
I was just, I suppose it's the one size fits all. It's for the most part. I know they add in AI and predictive runs, and even Garmin on the new watches will give recommendations based on your previous efforts, what you should do today. And I've been proving my watch wrong for the last few weeks because it's told me to stay in bed. But it's when you link in with elements of experience and elements of knowing what you can do and when to push and when not to push, and when you don't have that experience, working with a coach as you move into, for a lot of people, into this post-marathon phase, like you said, there's probably elation, there's probably tears. Everyone wells up on the finish line or on the carpet of a marathon, and for many different reasons. And then it's, what do I do? So a lot of people are either going to go, I want to go longer, I want to go faster. And I don't think you're going to get that from an app. It may get you through your first, and 100% you may get around, but
yeah, you'll hear so many different types of advice in terms of like, what should you do post-marathon? How long should you take off? When should you do your next race? And it really, like I said, it really varies on the type of runner that you are. Like, some people like the idea of training for a marathon for 3 or 4 months of their life, and then they like to take 3 months off. That's fine. Like, but then there's also the element, like you guys touched on earlier, is like you're at your peak fitness, and like you don't want to waste all that fitness. So I always like the idea of a 10K. Maybe like 4 weeks after a marathon is a nice kind of time frame, because you allow a little bit of recovery, and then maybe you can get like two small sessions in just to see how the legs are feeling, and then you could take that marathon fitness, and then hopefully it transfers into a really good 10K. And then like this year was a big change for me. Like the last 4 years, I've taken people to a spring marathon and like Manchester, or we did Hamburg, and then we go take a break, and then we go for Dublin. So like 2 marathons within the year. But this year I decided, well, it was obviously because the races are getting booked out so quickly now. We just couldn't find a marathon suitable where everyone will be able to go, etc. So we decided to do the Dublin Marathon half, which was the first year of it in March, and people just loved it. They smashed their PBs, and then they have like a small bit of a down time, and then they start building up then towards Dublin. So a lot of these are like they're maybe 15 or 20 minutes quicker in their half marathon going into their marathon block. So like their expectations are up. So as me as a coach, I've kind of like got to manage those expectations too. And that's like an interesting one then with athletes as well, is like you want to instill confidence, but you don't want them to get carried away too. So like I'll have conversations with people this week before Dublin, and a lot of them are around the pace and how to manage your race. Like going to apps won't tell you how to manage your Dublin marathon. Like I would like to get people to 24K, maybe under target, and then the last, 18K there is like where you're gradually speeding up because the route gets a little bit less hilly. But then if you're reading stuff online, it will tell you to run even or a slow fade. Was the one someone said to me recently. I love that one, slow fade, where you're 3%
Slow fade,
slower in
near
the
death
second half.
experience. Slow fade, just waving
It
as you're
sounds like a
drowning.
haircut, doesn't it?
Bye.
Yeah, I've never heard that phrase before.
That's a nice
I actually
haircut.
I actually have a guy I'm coaching, Rob Flynn, and I'm only bringing him up there because we were touching on the Runner app. He was with Runner before me, and his words were, Kevin, I took 304 as his PB, so he obviously wants to break 3 hours. And he said, I love the structure, and then I could check in with you when I needed to. So like for some people, that's like once a week. Other people, it's once a month. It really does vary on the individual. I love that. Like some people, particularly this week, be like, I know you're busy. I won't take much of your time. And then other people are on the phone for an hour and a half. Like it's mad. I won't say who.
Can I ask, obviously, just there's a lot of people just having a long hard look in the mirror now after that. But when you look at and one thing we've done is we've said on a couple of occasions 5K, 10K max effort versus a marathon. We know which one we'd pick every day of the week. We'd pick a marathon because knowing what it takes to do a 10K PB and a 5K PB, it is hard. It's hard, even though it's shorter. It hurts from the first step. It hurts. How do you go from, I suppose, mentally going from those long, easy runs where you're really just clearing your head for a long portion, enjoying them, and a coffee and all the social side that comes with it, into 4 weeks later, we're getting back into 10Ks. How do you shift the mindset? How do you get the body into gear? How do you bring yourself down from the marathon ability? And I'm going to extend this question even longer, because a lot of the times I look at in January or February, I'm like, how was I able to hold this pace for 42 kilometers? And the fear of going back to a 10K training plan, I know it's always a better foundation, of course. I know the logic behind it, but letting go of the endurance side is so difficult.
Yeah, but look, the first thing is you don't have to completely let go of your endurance. Like, and obviously, again, going back to, it depends on the level of runner you are. Like some people, I would keep them with 80 or 90 minute run on the weekend because they enjoy their long runs, and that will vary. So some people might. I have some runners like I have a girl up at Donegal, fantastic runner. She would probably cover a half marathon in her 90 minutes, or easy run on the weekend. But someone else might cover 10K. So that varies. So that's why I would probably put time rather than distance post marathon on the long run. And going back to like what you said, like 5K and 10K hurt more than a marathon. It's true, and it's kind of untrue as well. So it depends really how you've trained. So the problem with most people is they don't train specifically for 5 and 10K. So they're always in a marathon block. And in a marathon block, sometimes I'll have run a 10K race and by the time the marathon comes around, my last 10K in the marathon's quicker than my 10K race because you've tapered and you're fresh. So you're never really like on point in terms of 5 and 10K. Now it's different when you first start. You get someone who's first starting with you every week. Their fitness is growing, so they're naturally going to run 5 and 10K. Like I had a guy there that did the 10-mile race in the park, and he ran a 5K, a 10K, and a 10-mile PB in the 10-mile race. That's not normal, but it's normal because he's new to running. Yeah, and then the other thing that is a massive no-no, and I see it all the time with people, is when we're doing interval training, we tend to do them. We operate at way faster pace than maybe our predicted time for a 5 or 10K. So I'll give you an example. So if someone is trying to break 50 minutes for 10K, and I say to them, we're going to do 16 times 400 meters at 4:55 to 5 minutes, which is the target pace. They come back to me and go, Kevin, I had an amazing session. I started out at 4:15. Now I got a bit slower towards the end. I was 4:30. And I'd be like going,
This sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
why? And people love to do that session because they love to hurt. But then if you did it the way I told you to do it, you would feel like you could do 2 more reps rather than feeling like you want to puke in a bucket. And that comes down to being clever with your training. And then when you be clever with your training, you're able to race really, really well. But if you don't practice that in training, then how many people in Dublin will run slower in the second half than the first half next Sunday? Probably over 92%, I would have thought. Probably in the high 90%. So you kind of have to question then, did one of two things. Did they overestimate what they were going to do based off their training? The other one is, did they actually execute a proper race plan? Like, some people, I felt great the first 30K. Like when I worked in the running shop, people would come in and they go, how'd you get on in the marathon? I was great till 30K. I don't know what happened. And I go, well, you probably went out too fast. It's simple as that.
Yep.
It's a
if you
hard one.
If you practice it in training, more than likely you're going to do it in a race. But if you practice it the wrong way in training, you're probably going to do it the wrong way in a race.
Guilty.
To dive into that, a little bit more, Kev, because you said you moved away from the marathon in spring and you're focusing on 5K, 10K time. How important is the foundational base, or from what you have seen through all the people who are training with you this year, how good is the difference when you do focus on that 5K, 10K, practicing running 5Ks, 10Ks, when it comes into then the new block? Need fuel that keeps up with your pace? Meet Perform's Carb Gel with 30 grams of fast-acting carbs, powered by 3 fuel sources for sustained energy when it matters the most. Packed with cluster dextrin for smooth digestion and a steady release. No spikes, no crashes.
All that in a compact 40 milliliter sachet, tested under Informed Sport, so you know it's clean and competition ready. Whether you're chasing the podium or just in your XPR, Perform Carb Gel gets you there faster, longer, stronger. If you're looking to stock up, you can use the code AGR to get 20% off your order.
By listening to this advert, you are supporting Irish businesses and this Irish podcast. Time to get back to the episode.
Yeah, so like what you find is you have this extra turnover. Your legs are obviously moving faster, so your slow runs become so much easier because you're just used to, operating at a much faster level. Now over time, then in your marathon block, you can gradually build your distance, and while your distance is increasing, your fitness is increasing. So if you have someone and they're running 6-minute kilometers for their easy run, in 5 or 6 weeks, they've gone from, say, 50 minutes to 2 hours of running with probably the same effort, if not less effort. But it's just because they're getting fitter, but they've brought that extra turnover from their 5 or 10K now into their marathon block, and they're different runners. So, like, if you constantly go into one marathon to the next marathon, a lot of times you're managing injuries and niggles because it's repetitive. You're running the same paces the whole time. So you'd see people that come to me and they're quite stagnant. They haven't improved their PBs in 3 or 4 years, but they're doing the same thing over and over. So you kind of have to question, like, why are you doing the same thing over and over if it's not working for you? And then I'll have other athletes and I'm sure I've had people who've left me as well, where you feel like you've stagnated a little bit and you want a fresh start with someone and you want to try something a little bit different. I've 4 or 5 runners in the last few months, and it's so exciting to see their growth, because when they're starting with you, their 5K pace might be in their half marathon pace. So they're so far away from it that they feel like they'll never get back to it. So then you got to go from 5K and build them up and get their 10K to what their half marathon was, till eventually you're in a position to maybe go and have a run at a PB. And the same thing for a marathon. Like, so yeah, it could be difficult at times to manage those expectations, because some people think after 10 weeks I'm going to be back running my PBs. And we all know that running, it does take a bit of time. You have to be patient, and like, you have to be consistent with your training and avoid the injuries, and then like know when to race as well. I think we talked about this on a previous podcast. So when you finish your marathon, don't just, like, I see it all the time. People will finish the marathon, they go, I'm going to do Clontarf because it's in November. I haven't ran since the marathon, but I'm going to do Clontarf. But like, why are you doing that? Like, you're putting your body through something that you haven't really prepared for, but you're winging it because you think, I did a block for the marathon, I'll be grand. Whereas I rather people to kind of like go, right, Kevin, I finished the marathon. We're doing a half in March in Lisbon. So they'll rest up for the most part in November, and then we'll have December, January, and a small bit of March. So we'll have about 10 weeks to train specifically for a half. And then between that, then you might have like Tom Brennan 5K on New Year's Day. You might have another park run or a race or a 10K maybe in the end of January, or Raheny 5 mile to just break it up. And then you're going towards your half then in March. So you have to kind of like, you have to say, what is my A, B, and C race? Sometimes you're racing to get fit as well. So sometimes you might pick a race because you feel like if you do this race, it'll bring your fitness on, which it does. And then you have to kind of sometimes decide, I'm not going to taper in that week, so I'm going to like just train right through this and use it as a workout. And it's good then for people that maybe have a fear of racing. They kind of race a little bit more often, and it takes the shackles off them a little bit, because they feel like, okay, I'm racing here with no taper, so I have an excuse in my back pocket. And then when they race and it goes well, it's even better, because they go, I didn't taper for that. So imagine now when I taper for my big race, I'll feel really amazing and I'm going to even run quicker. So yeah, it's just getting the right structure with your races leading up to your A goal. So like, I was speaking to another guy earlier, and he'd only done a 5 and a 10K race in the lead up to Dublin. And that's kind of unheard of. Like, normally what he was, his partner was giving birth, and he was like saying, I can't do the half because it's just with family and stuff. But I know in the back of my mind, I go, he PB'd in a 5 and 10K, which is really positive. If you're doing a marathon, like, it's very difficult to PB in a 5 and 10K, but it's not the norm. But yeah, we had to find a solution to kind of test his fitness as well.
You were touched on there, you already have Lisbon end of next March and stuff for a half marathon. Is it getting harder and harder to plan these half marathons and marathons with how popular it is? Obviously, Dublin Marathon now is, most people are in a lottery unless you get into that elite time, or you do a charity marathon next year. Is it getting harder to plan your probably not your B and C races, but definitely your A races at their big events?
Yeah, I found it really difficult this year. Like, I even had like in our WhatsApp group, and I'd like, right, let's go do Brighton, because Brighton never sells out. And then I didn't realise London Marathon had bought Brighton, so they obviously have a massive mailing list. So that was gone like in a few days, and 2 or 3 people had signed up for it, and I was like, oh, I felt so bad. I was like, I'm gonna refund them their entry fee for Brighton, but the 3 of them were like, oh, we'll go and do it, like, we don't mind. So yeah, it's gotten like triathlon was about 10 years ago. Triathlon was like it is now, where everyone was online refreshing or like buying tickets for a concert. It's gotten like that. I like what Dublin have done, though, I have to say. There's mixed feelings on that, but I think you shouldn't, just because you do it, you feel like I get it next year. And what I found was
Great.
a lot of people were pushed into doing it that maybe didn't want to do it. So there's probably a higher dropout rate of people now this weekend that signed up a year ago and then just decided halfway through, I couldn't be arsed doing another marathon, you know.
Mm.
And obviously then we've seen Dublin Marathon being really clamping down now this year on swapping numbers and selling numbers and things like that. So yeah, like, so people will moan online and say, oh yeah, they're just trying to make more money. But at the end of the day, if it's happened a few times, if someone, it collapses and then it's the wrong person, that's an awkward conversation with someone who, oh no, my husband's here beside me.
Yeah.
It's an
So,
interesting one, and especially when you're operating with groups as well, when you're trying to, because we know we've the Barcelona Marathon in March, and trying to get tickets and entries and getting them on time and organizing it is getting more and more difficult as they get more and more popular. Because even that one, even a couple of years ago, you couldn't give away tickets for it, and now all of a sudden, we even
yeah.
beyond the podcast, we know more than 100 people going to do Barcelona. So running is becoming popular for all the right reasons, and it's great to see people getting involved, using apps, and just getting out, and run clubs starting to pop up as well. But it's always good to know that there's coaches out there that are willing to help. There's expert advice that can help you navigate through a lot of what has become so complex through every bit of everything that's been thrown at us. The other bit I want to talk about is post-marathon. It's probably something people that I have definitely struggled with it. I know Sean definitely struggles with it, and I just want to know your experience on it. Obviously, if you're keeping training, but training for a 10K versus marathon and the quantity of food we've become accustomed to eating and love eating,
And
how
we're
do
going
you
into
bring
Christmas as
yourself
well.
down? Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, it's hard. It's not
I'm
easy.
6K open last year. I'm 6K open last year. Easily, because of that Dublin into Barcelona, into not doing 2-3 months and taking that off and just still eating when I was eating. What a fat mess.
How do you manage
right.
it? How do you manage it, Kev?
I'm 25 kilos over my race weight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That make you feel better.
Well,
You feel,
I was going to say, you make me feel a lot better, Ken. I feel like I got a way to go, but I'm starting to climb. But Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, that's 4.5 years not running, like, and then eating the same way you eat when you're training and running, 140K a week. So yeah, yeah.
Is there a way to manage it for people, in particular when they're reducing from marathon into 10Ks? I know you have to fuel, and it's most important. People who are using these as an opportunity to lose weight is not necessarily a good idea, but there is a stark difference between marathon and 10K.
Yeah, no, like I remember, like, maybe 2005, and I was doing a bit of coaching in a gym, and I gave out program to 4 ladies, and they were doing Belfast Marathon, and they did the marathon in the May, and then they came back to me in July, and every single one was like, we need to get back on the program with you. We're after putting on weight. The amount of weight that you actually lose, even though it's not a primary focus for a lot of people, but
No,
you do
no.
naturally lose weight when you're running all that mileage, So, and that's a key thing too. I found a few people I coach are under fueling, so that's something you need to kind of to stay on top of as well, like, so that you have the energy output then to perform in training, but also you don't want to lose too much weight because you're losing a lot of power. So, like, I think I've ran a 2:46 marathon weighing 95 kilos, and I've ran a 2:39 marathon weighing 74 kilos. So, like, 7-minute
Jesus.
difference, but the weight is massive. So I think there's a kind of happy medium with, the power to weight ratio when you're racing. And I think definitely, like, there's two things happening I see online, particularly on social media, is You have the buff guys who are promoting, obviously, I can be jacked up and still run a really good marathon. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you have people then that think for every kilo they're losing, they're going to run 3 minutes quicker per kilometer or per mile based on weight as well, and that gets a little bit unhealthy as well. So you kind of have to know as a coach as well. It's a tricky one to know when to kind of step in and kind of say to someone, what are we doing fueling wise? When are we taking our food intake? What's our food kind of look like on a weekly basis? Because if you get it wrong, you can give them the best training plan in the world, but if you ain't fueled properly, you ain't going to run well,
246, 95 kilo, Kev. I'm not feeling all too well again because I had that excuse of Dublin this weekend. I'm pushing off 90. It's going to be one of my worst times. So thanks for that.
Hey, just think on the downhills, you're going to fly.
Roll down it.
If he was on rollerblade.
Yeah.
Absolutely excellent. And then as people manage the Christmas, and obviously recovery is a good time, Christmas into January can be a very difficult time for people, Kev, in terms of training, mostly because the weather is shit, family are around, the selection boxes are still hanging around that I'm going to be eating this Christmas, and the temptations everywhere, but the mileage, everything else, it's harder to get out the door. What's your recommendation for people as well as we move into those Christmas periods, December, January in particular, to give themselves an advantage? And I always say, if you start training in December, and as 1 year I'll follow my advice, this year maybe, if you start in December, you've given yourself a great foundation for the January or the New Year's resolutions, as they call it.
Yeah, I love that one. I definitely think, like, if you can my kind of take on it is, like, obviously a lot of people doing Dublin Marathon, October is basically finished. November should be a period where, you're resting up and maybe having a think about what your targets might be. We mightn't necessarily want to rush straight into racing again. I have a good few people that will be doing Donna D, so managing that is difficult too, because that's February. It's February, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Valentine's Day this year.
While it's close enough, it's still far away at the same time, because if you've built all this fitness for the marathon, you don't want to just like go straight back into long runs. So you have to take a little period off and then start to just maybe start off with like half marathons and build up your long runs again. A bit like your marathon block, but just probably a little bit extra on the long runs. So yeah, it's just a case of getting November the rest period, but not bringing November into December and just tipping away. I love the ideas of maybe for the month of December doing a park run every Saturday. You mightn't do them full blast, but you might just use it as a session. And again, that just gets you out the door on a Saturday. And then, starting off the week, I used to do my run classes on a Monday after the marathon. And it was brilliant because people loved it, because you started the week on a real positive.
On a good note.
And you didn't have that big long run in your legs on a Saturday or Sunday and taking it into the Monday. So maybe start with doing a speed session early in the week on a Monday or a Tuesday, and then you'll have something then to build on within the week. Whereas if you're in a marathon block, you can't really do a speed session on a Monday because you just get injured,
Yeah, and it's most people's routine: a Sunday long run or Saturday long run followed by recovery or nothing, or a rest day, or whatever the block or whatever the individual is requiring. It's never really intervals on a Monday after a weekend, a long run, and particularly in a marathon block. And then, Kev, when people then start to come in, a lot of people have that fear of missing the boat. And I took December as well. It's now mid-January and I am this person. I've even got as far as March before I've decided to get back out for a run. How do you combat the feeling of feeling as low as you do when you start back running and you feel like a beginner again, and you do ask yourself, how did I manage to run 4:30 for a half marathon, or and all the whatever level you are? But how do you get yourself back on the horse? Because some people, unfortunately, can burn out after a marathon. They can do too much and just lose the love of running.
I suppose there's two elements to the marathon training. There's the physical and there's the mental side. And like I'm more big obviously on the physical side of getting someone prepared, and then there's a small bit on the mental side. Whereas a lot of people put a focus on the mental side and forget about the physical, but the mental will only carry you so much. You need to have done the work. So I think like post marathon, it's important that like you don't completely, down tools. And if you do, like I said to you earlier, is like just pick little small targets maybe to kind of to get you going, whether it's a park run on a Saturday, or maybe you might sign up for a small race with your friends and you do it together. You might run with someone maybe that's a little bit slower than you and kind of like feel like you're helping them, so little things like that. Um yeah, it's just it's kind of like figuring out what works for you, like, because after a marathon block, you have this massive high, and then you have this massive low, and it's how you pick yourself up from the low. So, like, if you go out and like you run this massive PB, you're like after 3 or 4 days, it wears off, and then you're sitting there going, "What am I doing with my life? I'm not training. I miss running." But then you don't want to get back into it too quickly, because I've seen that before where people they get back into it the following week. I've done it myself. Like I remember running a marathon, and 2 days later, I was out running, and I'm going, "Why am I out running? Like I really need to recover." But there's this, I was still on the high, and I wanted to keep the high going. And the way I felt keeping the high going was to continue training. But I look back and now I go, "What were you at? Like you needed to rest for your head." And that's where I suppose the mental side comes into a post marathon, where you need to work on that and figure out, well, what is my next goal? What can I do to get there? Have I used a coach? Am I happy with the coach I'm with? Am I using an app? Am I happy with it? You just have to figure it out. Like, what am I going to do in this next kind of journey towards maybe running another PB? Or maybe you also have people that maybe had an absolute stinker of a marathon. They thought they'd done the perfect block, and then on the day it just didn't happen for whatever reason, and they got to figure that out. Then, like, did I do enough? Did I do enough long runs? No, the guy there, Kieran Sexton, rang me yesterday, and he said to me, um, looking back on my training last year, I only did 3 runs above 26K, and this year I think I've done 10. And like already that's given him loads of confidence. I heard on another podcast someone saying, look back on your Strava and congratulate yourself for what you've done. I love the little one where I'm ringing someone up, and they're chatting away, and then you say to them, John, you've done 2,500 kilometers for the year. And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Check out your Strava. And they're like, you swear they ran a PB then. They're like, oh, I hit 2,500. I can't believe that, Or I gave another lad, Mick, a little kick up the arse, and I says, you all set for Dublin? He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, um, you've done 350K for the year. And he's like, yeah, I probably need to do a bit more.
Gonna do 10% of his yearly running on the weekend.
Yeah.
Look, I can't judge. I've been that guy as well, so it's definitely something that we try to manage. It is very difficult, and a marathon experience, and I think, Kev, that's where clubs and coaches can really help. Well, like, and I hold my hands up to it. If it's me versus me post marathon, and I have a choice of a run and the couch, I lose every time to the couch. But when you have a group or when you have a coach and you have someone that's gonna, like you said, give you a kick in the ass, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, like I've a good few people that I coach, and then what we do is like they might be part of Crusaders club or Denor, and I say, right, can you give me the club session for the Tuesday, Thursday? And then I look at what the schedule I was going to give them, and I go, okay, that session's only slightly different than what I was going to give you on the Tuesday. So you're going to do the club session and mix it up to get around other people. Don't get carried away though. Stick to kind of the right kind of paces. And then sometimes they come out of a block, so they might be training maybe specifically for anything, but they'll do the club sessions, and then I kind of give them the plan around the club sessions. So there's loads of ways of kind of mixing and matching. And I always say that to someone when they come to me and they're part of a club. I say, I don't want to take that away from you, because there's obviously the social element, which is important to you. So sometimes they might even go down to the club and do my session, but they're around the other people so they can do the warm up, do the cool down, and then do their own little session. So yeah, it's definitely the clubs have a huge element of the social side of things that people kind of enjoy going down. Or, maybe there's people that that do shift work. They might work 10 at night till 6 in the morning, and they can't do the club session because they're either knackered or they're working at that time. So then there's other people within the club that are in the same boat, and they can kind of meet up and do the sessions during the day as well. So don't always think of a club like a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday session. What's the point in joining? Because I'm not going to make those times, because there's loads of other elements of the club that you can make it your own and really enjoy. Like, I was a member of Tal AC, Clonliffe Harriers and Dunor Harriers during my time when I was racing, and I always found it great. Might necessarily be doing the session on Tuesday. I might just rock down. Is there anyone going for an easy run? And there'd always be someone, and out you go, and you'd have the chats. And whereas if I was going out doing by myself, sometimes, depending on where you're at within your training cycle, I might just go, saw that I'm not going to do the run tonight,
I always feel like, to go back to like the football days and stuff like that, it was Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I feel like I have to be there. If I'm not there, if I'm working or something, like, I can't join that club. I has to be all in and stuff. And that's something I really struggle with. Kev, you obviously got a ton of experience over the years, and we touched on this near the start there about how popular and stuff running has gotten. Like, everyone seems to be into it. That also brings everyone on social media into it, which could be good, because like you on it, there's also a lot of other stuff out there as well. Do you see that on your end? I know in the strength conditioning field at my end, I see it. I see people just getting out of college and like, these are 3 exercises you need to grow your delts. And I'm like, is my phone not zoomed in? Because you've got no delts, pal. Why are you doing giving this advice? And it's
Showing
really, really bad advice. Well, just it's one of those, you just don't give that advice. It's really, really poor. Just pick up a dumbbell and go up and down with it. And to your point earlier, Kev, it's very technical, where you don't need to give that technical advice right now. Do you see that a lot with the running as well?
Yeah, so there's a few things going on. There's a lot of people that are like literally copying what other people are doing, and it's the go-to thing. I'm going to put up, because your man has 100,000 likes, I'm going to do something that's similar to what he's doing. And then you have this barrage of bombarded with all this absolute rubbish. And then you kind of go, why is this even coming up on my feed, And then you've got, look, don't get me wrong, we all have to start somewhere. So I always like hold my hands up and say, when I did my first year of coaching, I think it was like properly 7 years ago, I kind of look at some of the schedule and I go, they're very basic. Like, I definitely know I've improved as a coach. But then there's people like that, has the nicest way of saying it. They talk a good game, but then they'll have some sort of cop out at the end of it and say they were injured, but they were never going to do it. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with failing, but like, if you're going to be preaching stuff, you have to be able to back it up. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say
talk the talk. You have to walk the walk.
Yeah, there's definitely that. Like, and look, you don't have to be, if you're a gym instructor, it helps if you have a 6-pack and you look jacked up. You're definitely going to get more clients. If you're a running coach and you're running faster times, you're definitely going to get more clients. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're the best at what you do, because you're really good at it. And there's some people who are genetically really good at what they do. So you'd have like someone who might run their first marathon in 2:40 and then they're down to 2:18 in their second marathon, and then they're coaching. You got to go, pal, you've only been running 2 years. You're obviously doing something right, because you're going 2:40 to 2:18, but like, you're only running 2 years. Like, where is your experience? And like, can that person relate to Mary or Tom who's trying to break 5 hours for a marathon? Probably not, because they have no experience of dealing with that level. So like, the advice given out is like, do your 30K run, but Mary is taking 6 hours to do the marathon. She's not going to do 4 30K runs, because she'll be in a body bag by the end of it. She's not going to get to the start line anyway healthy. She'll be broken up and she'll hate running. She'll tell everyone, I hate the marathon. I'm never doing another one again. And she won't do another one again because she's following the 4:30K runs, or I need to get up to 32K. But really, she needs to get to the start line in a healthy place and feeling good about it. So yeah, there's a lot of bullshit online. And like, I've called out a few people and they've blocked me, and thank God they've blocked me because I don't have to look at their shit anymore. But like, it's great. Like, then there's other people that like I've had people online where I've called them out and it's been really bad advice, and I'm only calling them out because the advice they've given is going to be a detriment to someone following it. And then they had the audacity then to ring me up complaining that I'm commenting on their thing, which isn't open. If your Instagram is open to the public, what can it, what can you say to that? Like, so it wrecks my head.
Any posts I put up now, I'm going to be just baiting Kev. I'm going to be like, hey, wait for him to come and attack me.
400 by 16s, max effort.
There's a lad in Cork, Tyke Sullivan, top runner. He's a 68.5 guy, aiming for 225 Valencia. And he tags me on every single one of these influencers. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. Sometimes it's awkward. I feel like I just hit the love heart. Give him a love heart or a thumbs up, because if I give a comment, it's just like, oh, here's another one of them, So yeah, I think at this stage a lot of people know how I stand on that, and like I never like, I like social media. There's some good elements of it, and like obviously for you guys, people would know about your podcast if you weren't on Instagram, and there's an element of people would know about my coaching if I wasn't on Instagram. So you have to be on it, like, but there's sometimes you just go, peace of mind, like, why can't it filter out such rubbish? And I think the problem is sometimes maybe you click into it because it's so bad, and then it starts bringing up more of the bad stuff.
Oh, it's like you like this content for some reason, even though it's rage baiting you.
That's it. Our next few posts, Sean, are going to be pure rage bait. You watch this stuff. We're going to hit 100,000 followers in a week. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I'm sure, like, if I name names and stuff, you get a lot more views, but I won't do that.
Jesus, we don't. We'll be shut down.
Well, no, we're not that kind of podcast, but just... Kev, we're approaching the hour recording this, and like you said at the start of it, it is Friday evening, 2 days before Dublin. I'm sure your phone is about to be hopping as soon as you get off this podcast. So it's been absolutely fantastic listening to you, and I hope people do take what you've said from this in terms of building post-marathon, because I know myself, I've been very guilty of going after Dublin. Okay, what's the next marathon? What's the next long distance? And I sign up for like the Art O'Neill and Dunedin, and shit, I'm doing that this year in Barcelona. But next year I'm going to learn from this podcast.
Are you doing Dunedin again?
I can't help but doing a Donadie. I love Donadie. So yeah, I'm down again for this year. Like, I shouldn't be saying this, but it's when the podcast will be out. Dublin is like the very start of it. And look, I could be saying this and someone listening to go, Sean, you pulled out of Dublin like halfway through. I don't want to get injured. I'm happy to trot around, and I'm lottery ticket next year, so I might even be doing Dublin next year. So I'll trot around, happy out, and then just hopefully don't get injured, build towards Donadie.
Do Frankfurt. Frankfurt's on the same day. I have a guy doing Frankfurt this year, same day as Dublin. Really fast course. It's not that hard to get in.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Frankfurt.
The fall will not be in Dublin.
I want a free
Dublin
entry.
are going to kill us for this one. We'll take 3 entries.
We absolutely will.
Yeah.
Well, Kev, best of luck to you and all your runners this weekend. Even though listening, we already know how they got on. And that is it for this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast. And myself, Kevin, and Eric. Take care.